Rest.
RestineRest ulan.
Kare as.
Bende de 5 as var.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the RestineRest Poker Podcast. We usually speak Turkish in this show. However, along with our usual suspects, Özgür, PhapLap, and Koray K. Blunder, and yours truly, Pokrak, we have a very special guest today who unfortunately can't speak Turkish yet. He is originally from Idaho, and as you may know, Idaho, the gem state, is famous for these top 3 things. Of course, number 1 are the potatoes, without any dispute. Number 2 is the beautiful, the amazing natural landscapes, and of course at number 3, this guy, who is a professional poker player, an instructor at RunItOnce, an expert on mixed games, who is actually the author of the book Mastering Mixed Games, but also he is no stranger to the Cadillac of poker, to Texas Hold'em, as his 2018 WPT the 5 Diamond World Poker Classic main event champion title shows. He is Dylan Linde, ladies and gentlemen. And hi Dylan, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hey, pretty great. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for accepting our invite, although it wasn't gunpoint by Özgür. We're happy that you're here. And I know that you're friends with Özgür here. However, unfortunate that maybe I want to know how you guys met and the story behind that. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself, the younger Dylan, and how he ended up being a professional poker player.
Well, the younger me was kind of on his way to being a college dropout, I guess. Just playing a lot of video games competitively. Like I played Magic the Gathering, some fighting games at a pretty high level. Like I always wanted to be a gamer, and I was in college kind of doing nothing. And then stumbled on poker basically because Party Poker offered $100 for free if you deposited money, and then played some hands. I had no idea of the rules, but I wanted $100, so I deposited money, and then I just folded every hand. I probably folded pocket aces. I just folded every single hand until I got my money.
Yeah, that's a good strategy, I guess, for that time.
Yeah. It is when you're broke. I had like $20 in my checking account and thought that an extra 100 would feel good. But then my gaming ego got the better of me and decided I should try to win. And then I lost and had negative balance in my checking account.
Oh dear. So you were also a Magic the Gathering player, right? I used to play Magic the Gathering myself in the past. Did you have a favorite deck?
I played a lot during like the Onslaught, Legion, Scourge set time. I played more limited, so I did more like drafts and sealed decks and stuff. I played pretty seriously. Like I played Pro Tour Prague. That was right after I switched from playing Magic almost full time to playing poker full time. But my good friend Kevin McPhee, who's also a very accomplished poker player, was, we were like a Magic the Gathering team pretty much until we both transitioned into poker.
And you're from the same town in Idaho, but I think you guys met at San Diego, right? Rather than Idaho itself, right?
We met at the second college that I went to in North Idaho, but not in the same hometown. Yeah, we're exactly the same age from the same hometown, but we didn't know each other growing up.
Interesting. Yep. So your transition from a recreational or semi-recreational player to a professional poker player, what were the hardships you faced during that period?
Well, it was funny for me when I first started playing seriously, and I had my first wins. Like I was playing some micro stakes, limit hold'em online, which is how I started, and sit and goes. And that was still when I was, I think, a recreational player. But then one winter, I was looking at finishing school and becoming a math teacher, and I would probably earn like $15,000 or $20,000 doing that a year. And one winter break, I made like $13,000 playing, low stakes limit hold'em, and I was like, holy shit! Like maybe this is something I could do for a living.
What year was that?
I was playing 2-4 and 5-10 limit hold'em, which at the time was like the 5-10 was, I think, maybe second highest stakes you could play on Party Poker. like that, I did really well doing that. But then we had this kind of pre-Black Friday thing happen in the US where Party Poker pulled out for a while. And then I moved over to playing on Poker Stars, and I thought that I was really good. And I started playing like 2040 and 3060 there, and then I went broke.
Well, it happens to the best of us, I guess. And
Yeah.
how did you get back in the game then?
I just started again at 1-2 no limit. I had quit school at that point, and I started doing this like short stack thing where I would buy in at no limit, like 50-cent dollar and 1-2. I'd buy in like $50, but I'd buy in like $49.67, so it would look like my account was all in, and then I would just hit and run. So I was just like the guy, like the nightmare guy. You know, it's like, oh, this asshole comes in with 25 big blinds, doubles up, and hit and runs. I did that for a while. Played 180-man tournaments, and I was playing like 180 mans on Stars and some like small stakes 7-card stud tournaments because they were overlaying. And then I won a tournament for a $20 180 man for $1,000, and that was kind of it. I was like, oh man, these tournaments are sweet. And so that was like, I imagine what it's like to do heroin for the first time. You know, I was just like, oh man, I'm hooked on this. So then it just, you know, it was no turning back. I just started playing MTTs, built up a fairly reasonable sized bankroll, but then the big economic crash happened in when was that, 2013, I think, or something like that. Yep. Here in the US, and my mom's business went bankrupt, and so I had to give her all of my money that I built for my bankroll to help support her and save her house and stuff. Mm-hmm. So then I got backed for the first time, and you know, kind of started again, but this time playing kind of higher stakes MTDs and being backed for them.
All right, rinse and repeat, I guess. Your mom had a couple of car dealerships, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes. Yeah. At one point in time, I think she had 8.
8? Oh my. Yeah, you see, I did my background research on you, and there it is.
Yeah, you did.
All right. So probably your mom is happy that you're a poker player, and I still get to argue with my mother at this age and time because I'm still playing poker.
She is now. I lied to her about it for a while. I used to pretend to be a knife salesman.
All right. All right. How convenient then. Okay. Yeah. So how did you get to become friends with Özgür here? What karmic sin did you commit in the past and that caused that friendship?
Well, I mean, I'm sure in a past life I did something horrible, but Özgür was in the same stable that I was, and we weren't really friends at that point, but we met on the... Oz, do you remember which EPT it was? I can't remember.
I mean, I think it's the Prague 2014 winter, when you start dating with Alisa.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we talked a bit in our chat. Like we were, you know, our chat was lively, and so we would talk, but we weren't like, you know, we were friends, but not that type of friends until we met, and then it was, you know, love at first sight for all three of us. Yeah, Alyssa enjoys Oz a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I met with you, it was 2014. I think it was in Prague, but it could be in that year in Malta too. But I think it was in Prague the first time we met.
Yeah, I don't remember which order it was in those ones, but definitely in there because, you know, there was that giant tube of beer. That was definitely in Prague.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, we drank a lot, so I don't remember which one is the first, but it's probably Prague. Like you, Kevin, D. Peters, Chidwick, Huni. I think that time, like, we were playing every day live, every evening online, and then we have some deep run. Next day we just drink at night because we don't play online. I think it was the Prague.
I think it was too. I think you're right.
It's a good recipe and a good place to start a friendship, a romantic place, I would say.
That's right.
They start dating that year, so why I remember. I mean, I think we met with the first time 2012 on the chat. Like, I don't remember which one trolled which one, but I think I trolled him about
probably.
Yeah, because I think the quad sense was that type. like in the some midnight tournament, he just bluffed my quads, flopped the quads with something, and like I just trolled him, bro. Check 3 times checking is not a weakness. He was like, okay, you got me, but we will see.
Learned how to overbet. I didn't know it was allowed before then, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you were like, okay, this net gonna fold. Net versus net.
Exactly. I mean, you had to believe me. I'm so tight.
I mean, I believed you, but I believed my hand more. I mean, I had nuts. What can I do? I mean, that stable, pretty weird stable. I mean, lots of trollers, lots of weirdos, and lots of good studying guys. Like it's a combination of everything. I think that stable is the weirdest stable I ever been in my life. I mean,
absolutely.
Some people I really love, some people I really respect, and some people I really hate. I mean,
that describes it well.
It's like that kind of stable I never see in my life. Like,
okay, so you guys met at that time, were in the same stable, and how did you study at that time with the stable on the felt, off the felt? What made you better professionals than the others?
Then it was mostly just hand history reviews and talking hands until I don't know. I figured this out the other day. I think I was still Oscar wasn't with them anymore. I was still backed by them when we started like a PO study group, but that wasn't until years later. Probably like 2015 or something, or
I think
2014.
something like that, because when I became stable, I was the smallest stake player, I think, because I was the only one from Turkey, I remember, and I need to call the dom to talk with Elio for the join this stable, I remember. Then I start with like the minimum. I mean, there was a like Dylan and the group like mostly playing high stake. I was one of the smallest one. But at the end of the year, I was the one of the biggest winner, and I quit the stable. I remember.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it was that moment like we were just hand history reviewing. Actually, Elio was doing a lot, but like
exactly.
It wasn't live, right? It was just you sent the hand history. You want to look at Elio. If he has a time, he's just looking at.
Yeah, exactly. Like he'd write stuff and get feedback. We'd do occasionally. Like I remember he like had Ape Styles do a couple like kind of coaching things with people. You know, he tried some other things, but mostly it was just sending him a hand history to review or whatever.
So Jonathan Van Fleet, Ape Styles was in the same group, right?
Yeah. He was. I mean, he wasn't in the stable, but he was like when after Black Friday when I first moved to Mexico. Like Leo Fox, who backed us at the time, was there, and Steven Chidwick, who also had some of my action. And I lived with John Van Fleet and Steven.
Alrighty. So,
yeah, I mean,
yep.
He changed my life, honestly. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's definitely like after 6 months when I pushed Elio to need a coaching. I mean, I was the winning every month. Like Elio always like insisting, no, I don't need coaching. But like I remember when I just pushed the Ape Styles on the chat, like, hey man, I mean, talk with Elio. I want coaching session.
Yeah.
And he just like we made it just 3 sessions, but it was good, honestly. Even that times Ape was a great teacher.
Oh yeah, he's one of the best.
Yep. Well,
not just best player, but best teacher.
Well, believe it or not, PhapLap Özgür is one of our best players in Turkey, if not the best. So we're happy that he went through those rounds and got to meet with you guys in the past. So, we'll get back to that soon. But to be honest, I know that you have this book, Mastering Mixed Games. And you also enjoy playing mixed games, probably. And I've actually started playing Pot Limit Omaha 8 and Big O in the past few months, and I'm already making money off of it. It's crazy. It's like playing Hold'em in 2005, 2007, something like that. But to be honest, I'm enjoying more than No Limit Hold'em, which I have been playing for about like 20 years now. The variance seems to be lower in those split pot games, and your control over variance is relatively higher. So, do these count as mixed games, and how popular are mixed games in the US do the younger generation play those? So what's your take on those?
Yeah, I mean those certainly do count as mixed games. They're in like some of the games I play are like rotation, right, where they do like 10 different games or something. And oftentimes, you know, almost always there's at least PLO 8 or, you know, Big O 5-card PLO 8. And both of those are very popular in certain parts of the US. US is really weird. Like all in the South, they love what they call Congress, which is Big O. I don't know why they call it Congress, but they have a special name for it and they love it. In like where I'm from in the Northwest, there's laws in the States for live poker where you can't really play no limit. So limit games are popular, and Omaha 8 limit is very popular there. Also limit hold'em is, you know, pretty much popular throughout the US. And then on the East Coast, you get a lot of stud players, but it's mostly older players that play stud. There aren't a huge amount of like interest in stud in the younger generation, I think.
How about Europe?
Europe, you know, the only people I know that play mixed games like there are people that play them on PokerStars and stuff. Like I've never gone to a casino. Like when I used to do EPTs and stuff all the time, I would never see like cash games spread. I mean, obviously like PLO is big, you know, especially like throughout Scandinavia area. But as far as like the limit games, it just has never really been a big European thing. There are some very good limit players, but they're mostly online players.
Mm-hmm. I see. But in my experience, I have seen like tournaments of different kinds at PokerStars. I know that Party Poker is also spreading tournaments for PLO 8, but not Big O.
Yep.
And then there's this Courchevel. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. Like 5-card PLO plus 1 card on the flop, open.
Yeah, that's a weird game.
Yeah, yeah, but lots of action there. Lots of action there, to be honest. So, what do you think about the future of those mixed games? Do you see the audience expanding or just shrinking and ending at the end of the day?
I think some of them will expand. I think the draw games are very popular. All the different triple draws, the Badugi, Badesi, Badusi, you know, deuce to 7, because those games are a lot of action and they're exciting. So they make big pots. And then, you know, PLO and, you know, obviously PLO is going to be around forever, but PLO 8 and Big O, I think, are constantly growing because people don't lose their money as fast. They also don't realize, you know, for like a recreational player, right? If they go and play, they don't just get scooped for all their money and the day is over. Most of the time they get 3/4 or, you know, whatever. They get lucky to get half back. Like these things happen pretty often. So they lose more slowly. They get to have a lot more fun. But other games like Stud, especially Stud High, is such a skill intensive game that bad players lose all of their money very fast. And I think that that's a big detriment to games when there's not very many tools to learn how to play the game. And then when you do go play, you lose very quickly. People don't like that. You know, it's kind of surprised me that No Limit has stayed as popular as it is for so long, because people can just get annihilated so quickly.
Well, the magic of marketing, I guess, and the moneymaker effect is still in place. So
yes, absolutely.
What about the development of new games, like not relatively not new, like short deck or open faced Chinese? Do you study those new games as they come up, or just wait for them to mature?
Yeah, if the games have like a reasonable amount of action when they start, I definitely do. Like I play some of the mix that I was playing before COVID. You know, we were playing games like there's a game called Archie, which is like a draw. It's a 5-card draw game that's basically like Omaha 8 or better, but in your hand. So half the pot goes to the best high hand and half the pot goes to the best low, but the low has to be 8 or better to qualify, and the high has a qualifier too. So you can't like win with ace high. You have to win with a pair of 6s or better.
Oh yeah.
So it's a very, very interesting game. And same with short deck. Like I played, you know, short deck I played quite a bit when it first started getting popular, especially like on some of these apps and like GG and stuff. I think the action's kind of died down a bit on it. But yeah, I like to tackle new games. That's kind of what I love is finding games and getting good at them. I mean, I still do it with video games too.
All right. By playing those different types of games, do you sometimes find yourself chasing the low on a Texas Hold'em game? like with an ace-3 offsuit, and you look at the board and do you think about a low, or you're constantly aware that you're playing in a different game?
Less with Hold'em. Like it really, when I'm playing Hold'em, it doesn't. But when I'm playing like PLO high, I constantly think like when I get like ace 2, 3, 4 with a suit, I'm like, I'm playing the wrong damn game.
Right.
And sometimes I will, like, especially when I used to play much more tables than I do now, I would oftentimes find myself playing like Omaha 8 and, regular Omaha at the same time, and, no limit Hold'em. And then I would get confused and kind of, like I've played the wrong tournament for hours before, where I thought I was playing PLO high, and then I find out I'm playing 08 because all of a sudden all the hands have just been no showdown, and all of a sudden I get chopped, and I don't know what the hell's going on.
All right, I'm pretty sure you're not the only one there, even though you are one of the best guys who play those games. Speaking of, by the way, COVID, and we are seeing lots of new players coming into the game because there's not much else to do. It's like a new poker boom all over. And that aside, what was the silver lining of this pandemic for you, if there's one?
I mean, really just the boom of action online, I think, has been really good. Moving all these series to online has really showed the health of the game, right? Like, so many people had stopped playing online because they're like, oh, online's so much harder, I'm not going to beat it. But then when no one could play, everyone went back to playing online, which really, there were a few years there where everyone had a kind of a doom and gloom outlook on poker, where they're like, oh, games are getting tough, fields are getting smaller, et cetera, at least as far as online goes. And now all of a sudden everything is huge again, right? Like it's really breathed a lot of hope into online poker, which is great, because I do love, like, playing live poker is fun, but I do love playing online poker as well. They're the same but different. They feel different.
Definitely. So in addition to that, now that we have that boom, but once things get back to quote unquote normal, do you think online poker will get back into that crushing course because of bots, GTO plays, real-time assistance, or do you see the sites coping with those easily in the future?
I feel like the sites are doing a very good job about it. I think that the increased traffic of this year has really made them buckle down and find ways to attack those things. Like, all the major sites, Stars has always been very good. Like, say what you want about all the other bullshit that they've done over the years, their security has always been incredible. But now GG has actively been cracking down. They've gone through a bunch of different rounds of bans, some good, some not. But ACR is also doing what they can. I feel like the sites are trying to combat this. I also think that COVID is, it's still going to keep people out of the casinos a bit. People are going to want to play more at home. Also, I think it's re-sparked some people's love of the game. And I think, as long as the tournament series roll out, people will come and play. I think we might find the regular weekday stuff might slowly get a little bit smaller, but I think more people will come around for festival time than, in years before COVID.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like, I never enjoyed live than I enjoy online again. I mean, I like to, me, I like to talk with the people, hang out, meet with the people, drink also outside of Turkey, like moving around the world is good, but like nobody give me like that fun in live game, because basically you have to control yourself on the table. You cannot even shout yes, like
Right.
I don't know. I mean, probably you never show your feelings. I never see in my life like you just shout to people in my on the table or something like that, like me. Like, we always say good luck, good game, bye bye bye. I love it online, like that way. I don't need to control myself in my house.
Right. Yeah. I like swearing at people online. I don't like swearing at people in real life.
Yeah. I mean, we always like to look like a nicest guy, but like we both know, like we both DH. So I think it's like I need online in my life, whatever happens, because it is more balanced.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's kind of dilemma of being a Mediterranean person. Although Özgür was born in the northern side of Turkey near Black Sea, but he still has that Mediterranean blood running in his veins, and that's why I guess he wants to just show his frustrations, his happiness, and it's tough to do that live, right?
No, I mean, believe me, like I watched like lots of final table, Dylan, or we played lots of deep runs in the same table. We don't show in the casino, but like when we are really mad when we are back home. We sit
Yes.
together and like, I mean, believe me, it's not about, it is like humanity. Like I mean, Dylan is one of the nicest guy, but when we sit together at the outside backyard and we just like, fuck, how this shit happened again? Like I remember that days. I mean, we're still doing the same shit.
Oh yeah, I mean it's still, you just hold it in for other people, but when you get home, been some rough days, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Great days too. But.
I'm not saying like I mean, our DH situation is like mostly like we are sad. We just smoke or drink together and just like how this shit happened, like how we lost this hand. Like we talk about the hands like lines, like we look at that. I mean, it's a perfect line. We played the hand perfect, but it went wrong again. Like it happens. It's in the tournaments. Like
Shit
especially
happens,
why I
yeah.
just
Yep.
need online like time in time. Like for example, I think like live tournaments like pretty tough to play, honestly, especially in WSOP times. Like every 3 weeks, I just get exhausted. I mean, in online, I'm okay with that. Like I don't need to control my body at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of those high and lows, what was the worst moment of your poker career?
I mean, the one that's the hardest, it's going to sound kind of dumb, but it's when I got 8th place in PCA. So it's hard to be very sad after getting a big score, but I've been back for a really long time and I was extremely broke. And 8th place didn't even clear makeup for me. And I lost a flip to have like 40% of the chips in play at the final table to start off the final table. So it went from like, I have a really good chance of winning $1.5 million and being financially secure to boom, I'm out at like, by far the biggest final table I'd ever been. And afterwards, I just found a hallway by myself and sat and I just cried for a while. I mean, it felt bad. It's, it's like, boo-hoo, I won 150K, but at the same time, it was like, I didn't win shit, like I cleared some makeup and whatever. It was just, I don't know. I was dealing with a lot then.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I see.
I felt like,
Yep. Actually, now this question may be controversial, but building on that, and you may not want to answer it, and if so, I will remove it during the post-processing. But the Turkish people are generally curious about how much people make, right? So we are nosy about that. And I know that you have over like $10 million in earnings, live and online combined, even more so. So the question I got from one of our listeners was, how much of that is yours and what percentage of it is staked?
Really hard to say because it's changed over the years, right? I mean, the prize pool stuff is really misleading because it doesn't tell you how much the buy-ins are. When I was backed, like, sure, if I cash for $2 million in a year, that seems good. But I mean, there are many times where I would cash because your number of cashes always goes up, right? So I would cash for 2 million, but then I would, have put like 1.9 million in buy-ins in. So for a long time, like my income was, I'm not sure, like I didn't really do a great job of accounting for it at that time. Like there were some years where I had to go back and redo taxes and all that sort of stuff. But most of the time I was just kind of living, it was almost like someone living paycheck to paycheck, it's like my makeup number would get big. I would make enough playing cash games to support myself. And then when I met Alyssa to support both of us, but there were times when I was like all in a cash game, like I'd be playing with my entire bankroll on the table, which because I was backed didn't matter, right? Because that was basically just like my rent money type of stuff. But I was just like living off of rakeback and, playing like 8-game mix.
Yeah, I think being a professional poker player sounds better from a distance, but when you are living it, when you have to work on those things, it's I think it sounds kind of stressful until you make it, right? Until you make it, which was I
I
think
mean,
was
I can answer
Right.
that. I can answer that question actually, like pretty easily. My biggest roll was 142K. Remember, like 2018 last month, I won in 5K, and you won WPT, and
Yep.
I won huge in cash games like that. But I always like calculate like it is. Like I will say, I think we spent around 60K yearly, right, Dylan?
Yeah, probably.
And if it is in the EPT times, I think we spend more than 60K, like 100K per year, probably.
Yeah, that's the thing. We just spent all of our money on traveling,
Yeah,
all the
I mean,
expenses.
like,
Mhm.
basically, I would say we make 100K per year with the cash games combined, or 60 to 100K, but we spend everything from moving around.
and
Right.
then the
Yeah,
tax man
living.
comes taking the rest.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, luckily in the US, like we get taxed a lot, but I get to write off that stuff. So most of the time, I just declared, I mean, most of the time my income when we added up expenses was negative.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I'd have enough to live, but it wasn't like they couldn't take anything because there was like literally nothing to take.
I see.
because like in USA has one advantage actually, especially WSOP. It takes like 2 months. You don't need to move around because most of the expenses come from hotels and flights. It is the
Right.
most expensive thing. The USA has like one good thing is like if you go to Las Vegas, you find always the action. So you don't need to just travel around and find new hotel every time. I
I
think
see.
Right.
like the
Yeah.
biggest advantage. I mean, EPT is like just hell. Definitely, like most expensive cities, most expensive hotels. I think like EPT was a horrible shit. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember in Deauville. In Deauville, you remember you never been Deauville?
I did not. No, I didn't go to
Oh
Deauville. It was
Jesus!
one I never wanted to do.
Oh my God! I spent 6K euro in like a town in the winter when the tournament time. There was maybe 1,000 people, and you just pay daily like 300 euro per night. Like it's insane city, like insane town. The one of the richest town I think in France, but only summer. But the winter in the poker time, the prices are the same. Like you just
Right.
go. I mean, after 10 p.m., you have nothing to eat or nothing to drink. That
Yeah,
I mean,
they just gouge you because you're the only people there.
yeah. I mean, I think APT is why it just went broke because of that.
Yeah,
Like,
me too. That's where most of my makeup came from was just, traveling and chasing super high stakes stuff when, it was super fun. And obviously I could have won something huge doing it. But it was funny. It wasn't until after I got smarter and started playing US based tournaments and not spending all of my money traveling that I had a bunch of big scores live. I think it was also meeting my wife. I think a big part of it was for me, I kept myself broke because of my mentality. Like I was so harsh on myself and not like worried about my future. But once I met my wife, I was so happy just in general that it didn't matter if I was broke and playing. Like I loved poker and I loved her. So it was like, okay, like whatever happens, we're still doing okay. So then it didn't matter to me as much when makeup fluctuated up and down.
Oh my God, that's lovely. Okay, let's get back to 2018 WPT, the Five Diamond World Poker Classic main event. We are sitting at the
Okay.
final table. What are you feeling at that time? We are at the final table. The final table just started.
I
Oddly
couldn't,
numb.
I couldn't watch that final table.
Everyone was more nervous than me. It had been so long, and especially when we got to the televised final table, or it wasn't televised but streamed, like the six-handed. The playdown the night before, we played for 16 hours. So I mean, it was so long. We played till 4 a.m. or something. So the next day, I mean, I was just, I don't know. it didn't feel like PCA felt. It just felt like whatever happens, happens. And like I was just saying, like, I think part of it was just, Alyssa was like, we're cool with, like, I had already started the tournament on such a low where I had to be in for 5 bullets. And like my last bullet felt so bad, and I was like, oh God. So I had to get 20
Can I tell the
for the
story?
break even. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I just started late because Dom came late. I knew it, so I didn't come early. So he needs to give me a money. So I came like 2 hours later. I just get the text from him, bro. Do you have cash on you? I was like, yeah, sure. And I saw him like he was frustrated. And then I asked him like, how much you need? Like, he just like, whatever you have, give it to me. And I just said, okay. I have like 5K, I think, with me. I gave to him. Like, I said, what happened? He just said, this is for 4th bullet. I'm like, what? It's like a 3 hours after the registration. He was in 4th bullet. Then I sit. I saw him waiting in the near the bar, and I asked him, no, waiting the 5th bullet. I'm like, what the fuck? And I had like, it was 40K, right? And I had, then he came to my table. I had, I think, 200K. He was in 5th bullet, and I had 200K, and like, he just started. So he was like already pissed off. I mean, he was like, the fucking late registration finished. I'm gonna go home and just sleep. Like, I don't give a shit.
Five bullets. It's like $10,000 each.
That tournament, and he just won it. Actually, in day 3, I think I won the 5K. You were sitting there.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It was funny that we were at the same table for my 5th bullet when I started, and so was Milos, who I played heads up. So when I registered my 5th, Oz and the guy ended up beating heads up. We're at that table. Dude, that guy's a good guy. I like Milos a lot.
Yeah. He's just the DH like us, and he loves drinks. Like Milos and me has like a lot of drunk after sessions. Like we just finished. We play Chinese mostly like after the good sessions when I live with you in that winter, because the game is died at like 9 or something. Then we just sit and play Chinese together and drink until the morning. I remember that.
Well, degenerates. Anyways.
I mean, he's the biggest degenerate I haven't seen in my life, and biggest alcoholic also. But nice dude. Like, definitely nicest dude.
Okay, so back to the final table, back to the final 2, back to the final hand, and you have won that final hand, and you became the 2018 WPT 5-time World Poker Classic main event champion. Tell us what you felt. Tell us what you thought. Do you remember?
Yeah, I somehow when we got all in, the final hand was jacks against 5s, and I was like, oh man, he's gonna figure out a way to win this one, isn't he? And then it came like king, 9, king, and I was like, holy shit, he can't possibly win. I might actually win. And then it happened, and I was just stunned. I just kind of stood there, and then Alyssa and her mom were there, and it was just like, I don't know, it felt surreal. It took a few days to sink in, it was a weird feeling, because I had been backed to play poker for, I don't know, 12 years at that point, I think. And so it was a different moment. It was like, I don't know. Yeah. Hard to describe, really hard to describe it. Obviously I didn't have all of my own action because I was backed and makeup and stuff, but still it was a big life-changing moment for me.
Definitely.
But I didn't feel it for a while. It was like the next day we got brunch and had some drinks with brunch and stuff, and it was, felt good, but it was like, wow.
Yeah, I just won $1.5 million yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I feel like more than $1 million, right? $1 million, and that's something that you can't describe but feel. Okay, so hopefully me and my other listeners would have a chance to feel it in the future, perhaps. And speaking of which, let's say I'm half my age. I'm like 20 years old now. I'm in college or whatever, and I'm also kind of a recreational, semi-professional poker player, and I'm an aspiring pro. I want to become a professional poker player. would your advice be to them?
I would recommend that no one really just shoots into playing full time. I think the best thing to do is to play for a supplemental income for as long as you can, because it just takes away from the stress. And then I would focus your efforts on studying. You know, even when you're playing low stakes, you think that, you know, it's like, oh, I don't need to, you know, like learning GTO doesn't seem important, this kind of stuff. But what that does is it builds the basis for you to play. So even if you're, you know, even if you're playing mostly in a home game, right, with like the same people, you think like, oh, studying won't help me against these people. But you're wrong, because what it will do is it'll give you a strategy basis, and then you can be like, oh, well, this guy's way tighter than this. He doesn't 4-bet with these hands, or this guy, you know, it'll teach you that way of thinking that will propel you into the future. Like, it wasn't for me. I was a good winning poker player for a long time, just playing tight. And whatever, just waiting for people to punt. But it wasn't until I started working with, you know, serious studying with solvers and stuff with, you know, some of my friends that I started to learn that way to think, which helped me, you know, in other. Sorry, hold on, let me close this window. That's really loud. There's construction in my house.
Okay.
Sorry about that. We're getting our bathroom redone.
All right.
But yeah, it wasn't until I started doing that sort of work that I realized how important it is at all levels. So anybody who wants to really approach poker as a serious way to either play full time or to, you know, supplement their income while they're doing other pursuits should split their time between studying and playing. So many people only play, and study, review, things like DTO really help. You know, they just get you to think about poker in a different way other than results-oriented thinking, which I think is like the most dangerous thing when you first start. You're like, oh, I did this, you know, that worked out really well. I won a bunch of money. Those two things don't always correlate, right? Like, just because you did something and it won you money doesn't mean it was actually a good play.
Exactly. I think that's what also makes poker profitable. You can be playing like shit and make some money, and you could be doing everything correctly but still lose money. And the difference comes when you study the game and understand when you are just playing good and running bad, and when you are running good and playing good, which ends up making you the champion, right? And we're all living for it. Okay. And then on the contrary, on the other side of the coin, what would you be if you weren't a professional poker player?
Jeez, I mean, I went through so many things in school. Like I started in marine biology and went to computer programming, and then ended up not knowing what I was going to do. So I probably would be a teacher. Nowadays, I guess if poker all of a sudden just disappeared, I might try to be an investor of some sort, just because it correlates so well with poker, like learning about markets and that sort of betting.
So speaking about investments, what is your current relationship status with Bitcoin and other altcoins then?
I mean, I keep Bitcoin. You know, my wife worked for a cryptocurrency hedge fund for a while. So I currently have a love relationship with Bitcoin, but it wasn't always that way. There was a love-hate relationship because at one point, a friend and I lost 200 Bitcoin in one night. Back when Bitcoin was at like $250. And then when the 2017 happened and it went up to 20,000, that didn't feel so good. So I decided I wanted to hate Bitcoin. But then my wife started working in the industry, and you know, we learned a little bit about it. So we squirreled some money away into it. Not really like an active trader, basically because one, I don't know enough, and two, it's all like you really have to trade with size and stuff to make it make sense in the US, because every trade you make is a taxable event. So you have to, you know, it's like for me, I get a little bit of Bitcoin when I can and hold on to it more or less.
Oh, I see. And I'm worried about Bitcoin and other altcoins, to be honest, because whenever you take the chance of Uncle Sam getting his money from taxes, it might just make it into another like Black Friday nightmare on those things in the future, perhaps.
Oh, for sure. But I think nowadays, because now in the US, we have a couple things, like recently Coinbase went public in the US on the stock exchange, right? So we have adoption on that level. Also, the SEC has cleared Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a couple other altcoins as far as like investment vehicles. Also, there's a thing called Grayscale. Have you heard about this?
Nope.
So Grayscale is like, I don't know the right terminology for it. Let's say it's mutual fund. I'm not sure what it is though. What they do is they offer, I can buy like a Bitcoin, basically like a Bitcoin stock from Grayscale. So Grayscale itself holds the Bitcoin, but I as a recreational investor can buy a share of Bitcoin, and then my share will go up and down with Bitcoin.
Oh,
and so they're a regulated US company as well. So there's a lot of regulated companies in the space now in the US, which makes me feel better about that as far as like the government cracking down and not doing what China seems to do every other month and say crypto's banned, crypto's back, crypto's banned, like.
Yeah, I see. All right. So what are your plans for the future now? Once we have this COVID-19 stuff cleared, hopefully, I'm hoping in about a year or so. What are the plans for the future? Will you actually be at the WSOP this year, if it happens?
Oh, yes, for sure. Actually, I'm going to play live poker this week. My wife and I both we were lucky enough to get our vaccines last month. So I'll be going to WPT Florida.
Oh, that's nice. I just saw on Twitter today that people in the US who are adults can go and sign up for a vaccine starting today. Anyone over the age of 18. And I think that's something we needed in Canada yesterday, I would say. And
it's crazy how hard it is to get in Canada and Turkey. I mean, it's, Oscar was telling me about the problems with his parents being able to get it. I really hope that since everyone can get it here in the US, that they start, the factories that are making it here start distributing it more evenly to places in the world where people need it. I think it's pretty insane. I mean, as much as I like that I can have it, I think it's pretty insane to me that I have it. And, there are people over the age of 70 with health problems in other countries that can't get it. I don't know. I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me.
Yep.
I mean, I am hoping, like, I am 40 soon, so I hope I get until the WSOP and come to USA, honestly.
I mean, if you come to the US, you can get it.
I mean, like, but it's like, I want to come from here, like, so, because on the visa situation, I think they can make me a problem. I am not 100% sure in USA, but in Europe, definitely. I cannot get a visa for Europe until I get COVID. I get COVID vaccine. I mean, and now I need to change my passport. I have also thing. Jesus, I hate it. I don't have European visa. I have American visa, so it's not a problem. Always they are nice to poker players, luckily, in America.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. Like, if I get the vaccine, and I think I'm gonna come and play at least the main event. I'm gonna come and play.
All right. So in a time when COVID was non-existent and we were younger, what is your favorite travel story for poker?
That's tough. There's been a lot of cool things. A big pivotal moment for me was just a funny side trip in between two EPTs. I went on a ski trip in Austria with Jim Colopy and Stephen Chidwick, and during that ski trip, which there were some pretty ridiculous shenanigans that happened, also involving for some reason in Austria, at least in that part of Austria, they think that it's a good idea to have this drinking game where there's a stump, and this is in the bar, it's a big tree stump, and then you use a hammer, or it's like a pick, it's like half pick, half hammer, and so you try to use the pick to hit nails into this stump, which seems like a really bad idea when you're drunk.
Yeah.
And we showed them why it was a bad idea, because my friend drank too many of these 3, like 1 meter tall glasses of beer that he started smashing the glasses with the hammer, and so we got thrown out. But it was on that trip that Stevie and I first started talking to each other about mixed games, and he knew how to play draw games and I didn't, and I knew how to play split pot games and he didn't. So we kind of entered in this partnership to learn mixed games together. And so that was a cool moment. I had a probably the most degenerate thing was at PCA one year. I was drinking with a couple of friends. I probably shouldn't mention who they are, but we broke into the water slides late at night and then decided to jump into the shark tank.
Always a good idea.
Yeah, that was all right. I mean, it was fine. I knew what kind of sharks they were. You know, it was like thresher sharks and nurse sharks, so I thought the risk was pretty low. So yeah, I was swimming around in there for a while, and then I dove into the big main tank at the Atlantis and tried to chase one of those manta rays down, but it is a much better swimmer than I am, so I didn't catch it.
Thankfully.
I mean, okay, this cannot happen with the beer. It is impossible. beer never enough for that courage.
No, it's those fucking Bahama Mamas that they serve, you know, and the guy,
Bahama
you know,
Mamas, yeah.
The Bohemian guys that are like the bartenders, they always kind of like laugh and then pour you one, and then you taste it and you're like, Jesus, it's like all rum. You know, they're like, oh, we're gonna get this guy messed up. Yeah.
I mean, it was 2019. It was 25K PCP or whatever, and me and Dylan just moved to just fly to there. And the last night, like, I mean, I had a really nice month. Dylan won WPT, I won 5K, I won a lot in cash games. So like then we played 25K. I recover my things in the cash games there. Accidentally, I find out. So last day, like we just said, like let's drink. Always Dylan is a good guy. We have a flight next day. He just stopped drinking at 2. I mean, I wasn't drinking that moment. I had a normal life until that day. Like even his party, like a winning part WPT party, I said like I can smoke but I cannot drink with you, bro. I'm sorry about that because I am alcoholic. If I touch it, I'm gonna continue. He knows. He didn't say anything. Then up to that moment, like everything finished. So I'm gonna like after a week later, I'm gonna come back to Turkey. So I decided to drink with the friends last time. And then I was only way to drink is just you sit somewhere, play a gamble, and you get free drink. The system is that. Then I was moving around. I saw Joseph Chong. They were in some blackjack table and playing like huge 500 1K, and I didn't saw. So somebody just left, and I just said I had a $300 in my pocket. So I just said, okay, get a couple drink here. So I'm gonna use $300. It's a blackjack, whatever happens, and I'm gonna get drink and just like I will hang out here. I put $100. I have to double, so I put $100 and I take a loan from Joseph. Then they down to 2 people. I won that hand, like one more double. We got it, and we just won. That night I won like I think 9.5K or something like that, and they won like 190K. I mean, I just sit there, drink my beer, and I just listen to them. I don't play. They just say double, card, whatever that happens. That was the craziest blackjack night in my life. Like me, Joseph, and 2 more. One girl and one poker girl and one poker guy. Like it was insane.
Well, it's good pocket change,
Yeah,
I guess. Not bad for a night's drinking adventure, I would say. Not always those things end well, but you got lucky.
I mean, like, I just sat with $200. If I lose $300, I was just leaving the house. I just need to get free drink.
Exactly.
That's what that was with them.
$200 doesn't go very far at the Atlantis and drinks. That's like 10 drinks. So
yeah, whenever I try those things, it's always my most expensive beer on those blackjack tables. So that's why I started playing poker at.
Honestly, in USA, there's some casinos like you can bet $5 and free drinks we mostly go there if I want drink, because on the bar you just pay $20 per drink. So playing $5 blackjack is plus heavy than the paying in the bar $20. It is pretty unfortunate situation in USA.
Yeah, yeah. I can picture you as old man coffee in the future, PhapLap.
It's true.
Dylan, to be honest, it was a real pleasure to have you here, and thank you for your time sharing, honestly, your experience, your knowledge, your take on things with poker and COVID-19 and life. And really appreciate seeing you here, and thanks to Özgür and Koray for being here as well. And
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
hope to see
Thanks,
you
bro.
soon again, and hope to play with you in the near future, I guess.
Hope so as well.
All right.
I don't want to play the same table with him. Like I'm gonna be honest.
I didn't say play against. I didn't say play against. I said play with at the blackjack tables, perhaps.
Well, I hope so. I mean, not on the poker table, definitely.
Maybe we can have a round of Magic the Gathering, I guess.
Oh man, I'd be a big fish now. It's been a while.
There's this online game I started playing a while ago, and then just quit. But you have it's all online now. If you want to get into that.
Yeah, the new like arena or whatever looks pretty sweet.
Yeah. That's the one I was talking about. Yeah. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So
I'm afraid of it because if I start playing, I'll really play.
yeah, that can be a thing. All right, that's all then for the podcast.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Have a nice flight. Okay, see ya.
All right, later, guys. Thank
Later.
you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.